Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today is going to be a quick video where I'm going to show you how I turn all of my little gift card holders, envelopes into an advent calendar garland. So as you can see, I have all of my materials here. I have made 24 total little gift card holders, envelopes, and I'm going to stuff candy and little tiny toys and gifts in them for my niece. And I also have made 24 in blue for my nephew. Same style, same thing. Now these are the single crochet gift card holders, but I also have made knitted ones and ones in Tunisian crochet. Here is an example of one of my knitted ones, and for these I added a button. The single crochet ones, there's no actual clasp here. I just stuck some little snowflake charms on the top to kind of hold that flap down a bit. Here is the Tunisian crochet version, and these were made with a variegated yarn. Again, I added a simple button to close, and all of them came out super cute. For the little number tags, I purchased them from Amazon, and they came like this, and you get 2 boards with all of the numbers, and you just kind of punch them out. So I've gone ahead and punched out all of the ones for this garland, and you can see you're kind of left with these empty wooden pieces. But they were super easy to punch out, and they're a pretty decent quality. They've got little numbers cut out and glued onto the actual image, and each of them are different. So my plan is, I have my twine. You can also chain a length that you might need and then hang the little envelopes up that way as well. Another option is to chain, when you're done with your envelope, chain a little hook that you can then put on to a twine or a chained length for the garland. Now I have opted to go with just some twine only because I have 24 of these, and all of them are sort of different sizes. You can see here I've got a bunch of different sizes here, and it's going to be a large size string. I didn't want to chain and then realize I didn't chain enough, or I chained too many. I didn't want it to be awkward. I pre-cut a size of twine. So here's my pre-cut size, and it's probably about 6 feet. And I did that so I knew exactly how much space I had to work with. If you don't have twine, you can always just chain a length and then work off of that. So I'm going to thread my needle with this twine, and I'm using a pretty wide-eyed needle. I don't know if you can see that, but it is pretty wide-eyed. Now the only thing with stringing up items into a garland is getting them to all face the same way, and in my case I have these numbers, so I want to make sure that 1 is to the left and 24 is to the right. So I've left these off, and I think what I'm going to do is just string up all of my envelopes and then attach the numbers from there. And that way I can make sure that I've got 1 on the left, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 24 on the far right side. So we're just going to kind of play around with this. I think I want them all to kind of face one way. So instead of, you know, 1 this way and 1 this way, I want them all to kind of be like this. And they're going to be close together. There's going to be some that are closer together than others because they're longer, and I made them different sizes because I wanted to put different size toys and gifts in each. And there's only so many things you can fit in a smaller envelope. So I did want to kind of vary the sizes, which is going to make it a little bit more tricky as I'm putting this together. So I'm going to start with my twine here. I've threaded on my needle. I don't want to attach it to this envelope flap because I want that to be closed. So I'm going to find a stitch or two on the very end of my seam there and just run the twine through. And sometimes with twine you just have to be gentle, you have to be careful, you don't want to warp the work in any way or split it, or if you happen to go in between stitches. I'm just going to pull all of this through. So right away on my ends I'm going to tie a knot, and I want to keep a little bit of a loop here so they can hang it up if they wanted to. So you just kind of want to create a little bit of a loop there. And so right now I've got this one hung up. And you want to, as you're working through these, you always want to make sure that you're stringing them on the same side. So all of mine are going to be front facing as I'm doing this, and I'm always going to go into that top right seam. You just pull it through. And so far we've got 2 hanging. So you can kind of see it gets a little confusing because it's actually going to be backwards as you're working it. But if you take a moment and turn it around, and you can kind of see how it will hang. Turn it back around, and you can see now I'm kind of working on the back side, which makes it a little bit confusing. Like I said, you always want to go in on the same side for each envelope, the same way if you want them all facing the same way. So I'm just going to make my way all the way down. And as I get close, I'm just going to drop it. And I can move them closer or farther apart once I have this all strung up. So we've got one hot mess here, but everything is strung up. I flipped it around. Let's see, where is the end? Here's the end. So you can kind of see, once I space them out a little bit, they'll all kind of just be hanging. And I will take a better picture of this to show you where I've got a little bit more space, and I'll insert it in the video so you guys can see. But it actually is super cute, all strung up, and they're not spaced correctly at all. Like I said, it's a hot mess. I did go ahead and tie off the other end. So here's one end, here's my other end. They're both little loops, so this can be strung up and hung on nails or like on a mantle, or you can even wrap it around the Christmas tree if you want. With this sparkling type of yarn, it would look really fantastic, maybe with like fairy lights behind it. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. It is November 30th. I have one day to finish these, actually less than one day, because I'd really like to get these to my niece and nephew by this evening so they have something to look forward to on December 1st. So let's keep moving. So I'm going to find that first envelope that's facing forward. So this envelope is actually the last one that I strung up, because you flip the entire string and garland around, you're putting the envelopes on forward, but when you go to hang it, you're actually going to be flipping it, and that's where it gets a little bit confusing. So that is why I wanted to wait before I attached these, so I knew exactly which side would be number 1 and which side would be 24. If you're not numbering, or if you're just making a garland and stringing up motifs or whatever, then it doesn't matter. As long as you string them up all in the same way, it doesn't matter which one goes on first and which one goes on last. So I've got my number 1, and here's my number 1 envelope. So I have a few options. Now these little tags came with thin twine. You can opt to use that thin twine, or you can make your own little chain, or just use some extra yarn to put through that little hole and to attach this little guy onto your envelope. So I kind of want them, initially I thought I wanted them hung down here. I think I might do a combination and do some closer, tie them closer, and then tie some that are going to hang down a little bit further, just to kind of vary it and make it interesting. So I've got my yarn needle, and I'm just going to thread both of those ends in like this, and the only reason I'm doing that is so I can get them through the bottom of my little envelope here. And then I think what I might do is just kind of weave it in a little bit. I don't like to do that. I might just tie it. The only reason I don't like to do it is if I make a mistake, it's difficult to get these back out. So I think what I'm going to do is just leave it like this. It's in there for now, and then I will hold this up or lay it flat and decide which ones I want to pull down a little bit and which ones I want to tie up closer. So that's what I'm going to do. So here's my number 2. Let's find number 2 envelope. Next one along. I'm going to do the same thing. You want to make sure your ends are even. Number 2 envelope, I'm just going to go in that bottom left corner and pull up that little thin twine, pull off my needle, and now I've got number 2 done. So I'm going to keep going with this. I have 22 more to do. So I have finished putting on all of those little tags, those number tags on the bottom. Now this is such a big garland that I had to put it on our game table because I didn't have any space to actually be able to show you the size of it. Things that I would do differently, possibly if I was only using this for little candies, I would use a smaller hook, maybe even a smaller weight yarn to make the envelopes smaller and more lightweight. This is such a big garland that it is kind of bulky and heavy. So I'm kind of glad that I used the twine. If I had done a chain for my string, it may have sort of pulled the yarn out of shape a bit. But I really love how these little number tags look. I love how my little charm snowflakes look on each envelope flap. And overall it is super cute. Now I'm going to try to get a photo for you guys of it hanging in front of our fireplace before I gift this and before I start putting all of the goodies in each little bag here. As promised, here is the hanging finished garland. So don't mind the mess of the fireplace. We are still getting ready for Christmas, decorating. You can see how these little envelopes are hanging. We've got our little hanging tags. I'm super happy with it. It actually fits nicely on the mantle. All 24. Pretty festive. I think the kids are really going to get a kick out of this, and I can't wait to start finding stuff and filling these envelopes with little goodies for them. If you're interested in making one of these, like I said, I will have all the tutorials available, the links for those down below. I've got the single crochet version, which is what I'm using here, and then I also have a knitted version and a Tunisian crochet version. I will also try to link the Amazon site where I purchased these little gift tags if you're interested. They're super cute. They weren't very expensive, but you can also use really anything. You can use buttons and just handwrite them. I know craft stores have little things like this that you can make into little numbered tags. You can also just use paper, cardstock. Really anything works for this. I hope you enjoyed this unique, fun little make a garland with me video. Until next time, happy crocheting and crafting, everyone. Bye!